It was perfectly creepy without being uncomfortably creepy. Welcome back to another bookish video. I bet it's weird seeing me sitting here to do a bookish video, but I've already recorded this video a couple of times and I already had my camera set up here to be able to do another video and finish that off. So I'm currently sitting here talking to you about books, so there's no books in the background. But the book I'm going to be talking about today is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. Now, this is not a book I picked out for myself, and it's not a book that I normally would have picked out for myself, but I just happened to catch a booktuber I watch by the name of Jesse the Reader live a few days ago. I decided to ask him, hey, what's a spooky book that you would recommend to someone that is not normally like a spooky book reader? And he recommended this book to me, which was really cool of him, so I decided to look into it at my local library. So with that being said, I will say, if you are someone that is not into like insects, the main character is like an entomologist or someone who studies bugs. She's like a bug archaeologist scientist person, so bugs are heavily brought up through this book. So if you're someone that doesn't like bugs, this book probably isn't for you. But with that being said, let's get into the characters of this book. So the characters of this book are Samantha, and Samantha is coming to live with her mom for a few days in her childhood home to get some stuff settled for her job. And her grandma and the gardener Phil, along with one of the neighbors, Gail. Now, I like all of these characters, and to be honest, because it was an audiobook and because I didn't spend as much time with the characters, I had to go and look up a list of characters to remember their names because I am terrible with names. But with that being said, let's get into my thoughts on this book. So, I had asked Jesse the Reader for a spooky book because it is Halloween and I wanted a spooky book to read, and he recommended this one to me. He said it's spooky without being too over the top, especially good for readers that aren't normally into horror or into spooky. And that sounded interesting to me. He's very good at describing books in ways that makes people want to read them. And so as I was continuing to watch his live stream, I looked into my local library and they had the audiobook ready to go and ready to read. So I started listening to it. And we start off with Samantha coming back to her childhood home that was once her grandmother's home for a few months. And as she's settling into her grandmother's home, she's starting to notice that her mom is acting strangely, like in ways that she would never normally act. Like her mom talked about making sure they pray at dinner. Her mom has an admittedly racist and bad painting hanging on the wall that she never would have normally hung. And just little things that her mom is doing start to make Sam worry that her mother is developing dementia or something along those lines because her mom is acting in ways that she never has. And so she eventually brings up her concerns to her brother, which is like they started talking about things and were like, well, you know how your grandma used to be, you know how Grandma May used to be. And she's like, what do you mean? She goes, well, do you remember the time that your Aunt May was holding or your grandma May was holding your hand to a thorn and just you were screaming in pain, and she goes, no, I don't remember that. So there were all sorts of things that start to not add up. It's like, why is Sam's mom acting in ways that she never would have acted before? Why does she seem like she's being watched all the time, or like something bad's gonna happen to her if she doesn't do things the way that Aunt May used to do them? And there's that mystery going on in the background, right? Like the weirdness of her mom, the unsettlingness of it, and her worry for her mom, and hopefully trying to get her help. And you have Sam going around and talking to the neighbors, being like, have you noticed my mom acting weird and all of this? And in talking to her neighbors, she ends up talking to one of the neighbors by the name of Gail. And Gail has this pet vulture. And vultures, like bugs, are a big theme in the book because there are vultures watching the house. And we find out they are watching the house because they are attracted to death and spirits. And Gail is a witch. And so all of this in the back of her mind, her mother's weird behavior, the constant vultures hanging around the house, what Gail had said, what her brother had said about what her grandma did, are all like playing in the back of her mind and all unsettling her and unsettling the reader as well. But then you start to wonder, is this all in her mom's head, or is something more going on here? Because Sam herself starts to experience unsettling things, like she fell asleep on the couch and she woke up feeling like someone was sitting there petting her hair and playing with her hair or brushing her hair. She then would, like, she thought she was starting to have sleep paralysis because it would happen so frequently. And let me tell you from experience, I had sleep paralysis a lot as a kid, to the point where I learned to recognize when I was in a dream, and I could, in the dream, be like, wake up, wake up, wake up, you have to wake up, this is a dream, it's not real. Sleep paralysis is not fun, because even when you come out of the dream, it's like you can see your room, you're awake, you can see what's going on, but you can't move, and the dream is still playing on a lower opacity as you can see the dream, and for a second you can't do anything about it until it fully fades. Sleep paralysis sucks, and there are times when it can feel very real. And if you have sleep paralysis frequently enough to recognize when you are in a nightmare and be able to pull you out of it, it's not fun. So you're starting to wonder, okay, her mom is acting strange, and now she's concerned she's having sleep paralysis when she never had a history of having it before. So there has to be something else going on here. So Sam then starts to dig into what's going on in this house and in this world, right? She starts to realize there are no bugs in the garden, so she wishes for ladybugs. And then as she's gathering up roses for her mom to put in a vase, because that's what her grandma used to do, to surprise her, her mom breaks the coffee pot, freaking out because the roses were on the table. It's moments like that that make you wonder, why would she freak out seeing roses? And then after they go to bed, Sam wakes up to thousands upon thousands of ladybugs in her room. And it's like, what the hell is going on here? This book is very good at being unsettling without being uncomfortable. Like, you know what I mean? There's an unsettling to where you're fine with what's happening. It's not like sick to your stomach, make you uncomfortable, grossed out. But you're unsettled because stuff isn't adding up. Stuff is peeking at corners, or the strange behavior of her mom, and the vultures watching the house, the ladybugs coming in droves. None of it adds up, and it adds to the unsettlingness of it. And then, as Sam continues to dig farther into what happened, she discovers stuff about her great-grandfather, and it turns out like he was known as the crazy wizard in her life because of stuff he did, even to the point of finding teeth in the garden in a jar. And I'm not just talking like baby teeth, I'm talking full-grown teeth too. And then on top of all of that creepy craziness going on, and the like, is the mom going crazy? Is she valid in what she's doing? Because now Sam's having this. In the middle of all of that, you have this story that Sam was told by her grandma as like a way to threaten her if she misbehaved, called the Underground Children. It was her equivalent of the boogeyman. Oh, if you don't behave, the boogeyman will get you. If you don't behave, the Underground Children are going to get you. And so you have that story that all of this scenario is making her think of. And then Sam is starting to realize maybe my grandma was more abusive than we thought she was. And on top of everything happening, you have this mystery of, well, what's really going on here? Why is this happening? It's just so unsettling, yet it's balanced very well. You have the unsettlingness of the constant insect talk and the love of insects that she has, and for me that's unsettling because I don't like insects. But you have the like, is she crazy or is she perfectly sane and just stuff is crazy around her with her mom? And then you have her trying to decide if all of this is real or if she's starting to lose her mind too with Sam. And then the gardener Phil comes in the equation, and he's like, well, this can't be real, or yada yada yada. And it just adds up to be a perfectly unsettling, perfectly spooky kind of mystery book. But I will say, if you're someone that likes a very unexpected twist, I don't think you're gonna get that, because I kind of figured out what was going on right from the start. As soon as they talked about the painting that Aunt May didn't like, or as soon as they talked about the roses, I'm like, okay, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. I'm not gonna say what's gonna happen because I don't want to spoil it, but it's kind of obvious pretty early on into the book. But I don't think the twist needs to completely catch you off guard to still give you an unsettling story. Honestly, if you're someone that doesn't like horror, having a predictable twist in the horror could cut through some of the scariness of it. So I don't mind that the twist was predictable at all, because the rest of the book was so solid and so creepy and not unnerving but unsettling in such a good way. I loved the characters. I liked the helpfulness of Gale. I liked the mystery with the mom. I liked how Sam was snarky and sarcastic, yet still trying to stay grounded through everything because she is a scientist and all this craziness is happening around her. I like Phil and his comedic timing and his willingness to help the family at a drop of a hat. I liked Gale and her thing with the vultures. It was just a good book, and it was a quick book. And like I said, it was perfectly creepy without being uncomfortably creepy. And I loved it. And thank you to Jessie the Reader for recommending me this book. I highly doubt you're ever going to see this video, but if you do, thank you. I really appreciate it, because this is not a book I would have picked up on my own, yet I'm so glad I listened to it. So it was a good book. It was a quick read. If you want a spooky story that doesn't go too far, this is for you. A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. My headset just caught on my bracelet. Alright, bye guys!